by the way, I might be the owner, but maybe I should not be the president because maybe I'm not the best operator. Most business owners are so gripping so tightly the control that they may mess up their ability to get where they want to go. So we need to surround ourselves with people who, I love this saying, surround yourself with people who play at things you have to work at.
How do you spot A-level talent, I guess is my bigger question, right? And how are you attracting them? I think the job description is important, but like, where are you finding these people? Are you finding success mainly through LinkedIn right now, or is it Indeed? And then what is your process to like actually spot and identify talent? Because theoretically, people should be getting 100, 500 resumes. Is your magic bullet like, hey, I've got a magic way that I look at resumes, or there's magic questions that I ask in the interview? How are you able to spot from 500 candidates who is the right A-level talent that is going to be able to like take that load off your shoulders and move mountains in your business?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to answer your question, but first let me say, I don't do any of that. Years and years ago, I did, but I've built up teams and processes where I don't look at them anymore. I don't do any hiring and firing anymore other than VP level people. Here's what I do, or here's what we do. First of all, we write very explicit job notices. What I notice in most people is they try to make these fabulous, beautiful words and paint this glowing yet fuzzy kind of impressionistic job notice. And then they get a bunch of people that are unqualified and maybe a few people that are qualified by luck. If you write a very explicit notice, here's exactly what we're looking for. And in almost every case, I don't believe you have to have this many years experience in that. What I'm saying is we're looking for somebody to do this. And if you believe you meet some or all of these criteria, then we want you to send a video along with your resume that explains to us why you think you're going to do this. Well, first filter is if they don't send a video, if they just are automated, it's got an automated process to send a resume. Well, they're automatically out. We don't even look at it. They could be the greatest person in the world. If they can't read instructions, then they don't have a place. Then from those videos, we look and go, does this person come across as somebody that culturally is a fit? More than their job experience, are they going to fit? My experience, and after, I don't know, I don't have any idea how many employees we've had, but let's just say over 1,000 amongst all of the projects. It certainly would easily be that, but I don't want to throw a weird number out. I've discovered that unless somebody needs a license or you need an engineer, you need a medical doctor, you need a lawyer, you need a CPA, not an accountant, but a CPA to do certified public accounting, like, doing audits. Mostly, if you can find somebody with the right attitude, you can train them to do what you want them to do. And I'm more interested in a cultural fit and a willingness to learn, a curiosity to do the job, and a courage to say, yeah, I think I can do that. Give me a shot. Put me in, coach, right? I'm more interested in that than in somebody who's going to come in with a bunch of preconceived ideas of how they've done it in a different environment. So I'm looking for people who can read something that's explicit and go, I think that's me. They can follow instructions, and that by following instructions, we'll see that they seem to be a cultural fit from how they're presenting. We don't give them any hint of what that should be. And I can usually tell pretty quick when I meet somebody, there's energy here, there's juice here, or there's not. There's some connection, or there's not. My best sales guy I ever hired had been a house painter, and he came in an ill-fitting suit and no resume at all for anything besides painting houses. And I said, I'm really curious. You've been painting houses for like 15 years. and now you want to do an inside sales job. Tell me about that. He goes, I am so sick of climbing ladders. I will do anything I need to do to be safer, to be more comfortable, and have a better chance of building a future for my family than I can as a house painter. And so just tell me what you want me to do, and I will do it. I will do exactly what you tell me to do. In that 350 office company, publicly traded on NASDAQ, offices all over the world, he became the number one salesperson in the company. He had a strong enough drive, and it was a cultural fit, and he did it. And I've seen evidence of this all over the place in my career. So that's how I find the people. Is there's not magic that I can force, but magic can be created if we create an environment. It's kind of like taking somebody on a date. If you create the right environment, magic can happen. If you create the wrong environment, it's going to be crappy and there won't be a second date, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're glad we have Indeed and LinkedIn and all these other job posting. But just like in e-commerce, you can have all the opportunity in the world, but if you don't put the right information out, and I'm going to call it bait, if you're not attracting the right person, if anybody's ever been fishing, you can't just put any old bait on and catch the fish you want to catch. You have to give them what they're looking for. And it's the same when hiring people.
I love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways from every episode. So here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted, Aaron. You let me know if I'm missing something. Action item number 1, I think most importantly, you talked about this, is like you have to cast a vision for what you want the end goal for your business to serve in your life, right?
Yes.
Do you want to build a $100 million brand? Because if you're building a $100 million brand, there are different decisions that you need to make that are going to be different than the entrepreneur who is content with the $1 million cash flowing business and not having to manage people. A $100 million business requires management. A $1 million cash flowing business may or may not require too many managers, but you could have a bunch of VAs doing a lot of things for you.
Absolutely.
So I think that's action item number 1.
Can I add a caveat?
Sure.
I know we're on time. I know we're watching the time, but let me just say this. If you start off and say, I want to build a $100 million brand or a $1 million brand, that's totally cool. But it begs the second question, which is why? What does it, other than saying I had a goal that I hit, my question is, what is the life you want to live, and what will be the vehicle to get you to the life you want to live? Because it will probably change over time. So you may want to put a financial number on it, like $1 million or $100 million. But I'm going to ask everybody that goes through anything I do with them or any company I'm involved with, what is success to you as a human? I did this with CoverGirl Max Factor when they were being sold by Procter & Gamble. And I worked with their C-suite to figure out how do we keep this band together. And we had to focus on what mattered to each individual because they were going to have a big shakeup in their life. And was this shakeup in alignment with their life goals? And thankfully, we found ways to structure the transition where we kept the team together. But at the end of the day, if it's not if they can have all the success in the world, but if they don't feel fulfillment, they will leave all of that and go live in an ashram somewhere where they feel happier. So remember, people work harder for something they love than they will for money. So number 2, please. I'm sorry. I wanted to make that.
Love that. I think that's a very good point. And I think number 2 leads on to that, which is find what your end outcome is. Like what type of lifestyle do you want to be living? I think that's the main end goal. But then number 2 is like, well, what are your strengths, right? And you already talked about this, but I think that really is like entrepreneurs really need to take an inventory to identify what is it that you are really, really strong with.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to do is, because we talked about having KPIs, hiring people, creating a culture, all of that is only dependent on like, have you been able to identify the things that you need to get off your plate?
Yeah.
Right. So that you can operate in your zone of genius. Because here's what I believe. God put us on this earth with very different skills and talents so that we are forced to work together. And when we're forced to work together, we can 10x, 100x, 1000x what we're able to do on our own, but only if everybody's operating in their individual strengths and really like harnessing their powers that they have.
Amen.
And then my third and final action item, you touched on this, but I think establishing those KPIs in a scorecard that allows you and anybody else that you hire to know when we are winning or losing. Because when you hire people, most entrepreneurs that come to me, they're like, hey, I haven't heard from this team member for whatever. I'm not sure if they're really performing well or not. And it's very subjective. But if you have actual defined KPIs that are not subjective, they're measurable. It's either a yes or a no. It's either green or it's red.
Binary. The ball went through the basket or it hit the rim and spun out and popped out. You don't get points for almost. It happened or it didn't happen.
But that's how you know if you have the right people on your team or not, right? And they also know when they're winning or not. So those are my 3 action items for people to implement in their business. I know we're out of time here today, Aaron.
You want to ask your 3 questions?
I would love to ask you the 3 questions if you can. So Number 1, what's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
I love a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. It was written in 1910, and it's a funky little small book. You can read it really quickly. And if anybody wants to write to me and ask me, there's a reading assignment, a way to leverage this. I got it first from a woman named Mary Morrissey, who's wildly successful in the coaching industry. She got it from her good buddy, Bob Proctor. And then Bob and I talked about it backstage before I was speaking right before him one time. And we got talking about it and he told me a funny story. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, if they get The Science of Getting Rich and they read it and go, well, what's the magic here? I'll be happy to explain the reading sign, but not until they get the book and read it cover to cover. You can read it in about an hour and a half. It's only like 90 pages.
Love that. That is a brand new book I have not heard recommended on the show. So thanks for the new book recommendation.
You're welcome.
Aaron, what is your favorite AI tool or ChatGPT prompt that you've been using?
So I'm a big ChatGPT fan, but I just have adopted Operator, and I am freaking out by what it can do. And maybe everybody in your group's they're already experts of this thing. It's only a few weeks old. All I know is that I've started doing things with it that are blowing my mind, and we're speeding up a bunch of initiatives because of that new tool. So
how are you using it?
Oh, we're using it for video content. We're using it for podcast content. We're using it for creating research papers on companies we might want to buy. I haven't used it transactionally. I know you can, but no, I'm using it to build content that rapidly infuses projects that we're doing. And if you interview me again in a month, I bet I'll have a new favorite tool because this stuff is happening so fast.
So true. So true. Well, love that use case. All right. Third and final action item. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the entrepreneurial space that you would recommend other people follow?
So you warned me about these questions before we started, and I said, I'm not sure, but I will say this. Bob Iger, who's currently running Disney, is a corporate guy, but is an entrepreneur in the way he did things. If you read his biography that came out a couple of years ago, he did things that took Disney off of a terrible trajectory, created a partnership with Steve Jobs, who's another hero, who's definitely entrepreneurial. But he looked at Disney Corporation differently than Michael Eisner had done before him, and created a way to play at a high level in a very entrepreneurial way that was, I'm going to give first before I take. And it turned into a juggernaut for this company. I remember in 8th grade, I was trying to figure out how to buy Disney Corporation because they were in bankruptcy. And I was a little kid going, somebody's got to buy it. Why not me? I could figure this out as a little 14-year-old or 13-year-old. But Disney hasn't always been what it is now. But it took Eisner to bring it back to life. But then Eisner was all ego driven, and Bob Iger came in entrepreneurially and fixed things in a way that I think it's magical and it's entrepreneurial in extreme. And when we're looking to grow, don't look at people at your level. Look at somebody who's exemplifying who you'd love to be more like. And Bob Iger is somebody that I've seen over and over. Bill Ackman in the investment community. Bill Ackman does things differently than the institutions do, and I love him. So look way up. What does Les Brown say? It's not that we aim too high and miss. It's that we aim too low and hit. And so look up to the greatest gods of business that you can imagine, and figure out what you can learn from them. And I really appreciate you having me on today, Josh, very much.
I love that. Well, Aaron, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. If people want to learn more about you, your different courses, they want to buy the book, where can people find you at?
They can go to, the book is on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all that. They can write to me at Aaron Young at, nobody ever writes, so I never mind giving out an email address, Aaron Young at laughlinusa.com. And if they want to find out about us, go to magnifyyourwealth.com. We do an event twice a year. And I don't know, we'll just let this last because podcasts last forever. But if they ever go to magnifyyourwealth.com and want to come to an event, they can use the code WEALTH for a deep, deep discount. And that'll just be for your people. And we never talked about that before, but and you can cut this out if you don't want to use it, but put in WEALTH in the promo code. It gives them a deep discount. And let's give people the tools they need. They're already going to be smart in their business. Let's give them the tools they need to build something that will give them a legacy.
Yeah, man, I love that. Well, we are going to keep that in there, Aaron. So thank you so much for the generous offer, and thanks for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Visit EcommBreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.